Get up, BDL. It's time for the Inside Podcast number 8 with Mike and Scotty. No apologies to make in this episode, although we probably should for all the shade thrown at the bottom dwelling bridesmaid clubs whose tear-soaked jerseys have littered the annals of BDL history. More on that later. We're excited to talk to our favorite Bostonian on today's show. Kevin of the DoubleDowns joins us to discuss his minuscule playoff odds and the unrelenting stress of playing in the BDL East. It's a good show today. It's a good show. You're going to enjoy it. Hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us. We love you guys, really. Most of you. You're listening to BDL Radio. Crank it up for number 8 because the Inside Pod is on fire. Hey, BDL, we are back for the Inside Pod number 8. Mike, number 8 already. We are storming through these shows. I don't know what you have planned tonight. I have nothing down on paper whatsoever. Are we just winging this whole show?
That's what we normally do, Scotty. We usually have a lot of plans for these shows. This is the most ill-prepared podcast in history, I think.
I was trying to kick a little bit of dirt over that fact so that, it doesn't appear that we're just totally flying by the seat of our pants here. But thanks for, as they say in the wrestling biz, exposing the business.
Exactly. Hello, fourth wall. Yes.
Well, hey, we told you it wouldn't be too long before we'd be back. We are back, and we're happy to be back on the air. I have a great show lined up. Cool guests we've not heard from in a while, I think. But just to kick things off a little bit first here, just want to share a little quick report. It was really cool to see several of the guys in Durham for a BDL weekend, which sort of came together not really by accident, I'll say, but it wasn't really necessarily a preseason, pre-planned sort of thing. It just kind of fell together there with a few of the guys. Chris had to be in the Carolinas, I think, for a vacation with his family, and Brent and Matt lived nearby, of course, in Durham, and Brian not too far. So we were able to kind of make a little quick weekend of it, and drove down. We did from Virginia, about a 4.5 hour drive for us to Durham, and it was a really good time. Of course, the first opportunity for anybody else in the league other than Brent, of course. I think I'm right about this, to meet Matt, now former BDL champion Matt of the Cardinals. So that was a neat thing for those who were there, and always fun to get together. And it's not something we've really done in a few years now. Well, except for every now and then you see kind of these miniature BDL things kind of happen. I think Brian and Kevin actually got together in Boston. Was that earlier this year? I think I saw.
That was earlier this year.
Yeah. So you kind of see those little things happen from time to time. But we had 5 of us there in Durham. Certainly the biggest group since, I guess, the last time we were in Durham for a BDL event a few years ago. Got to see Leanne, Chris's wife, for the first time. Well, let's see. I guess I saw them both about a year and a half ago in Denver, but first time she had gotten to come to spend some time with the crew in a while. Of course, Brent's family, and Angela, and the new young lady that they have, and was my first chance to get to see the baby there. So that was a lot of fun, and of course my crew brought Joe and the kids down, and it was, as they say, a good time was had by all. So just want to thank everyone who was able to be there for that event, taking time to drive into the bowels of Durham and sit down for a few hot dogs and just enjoy some good company. Had great weather. It was a good day. Bulls won. Yay, go Bulls! And great little ballpark there too. Of course I've been there a few times now, but really, really one of the best minor league parks I think in certainly AAA that I have been to before, and it's a good experience. But sorry you couldn't be there, man. But I suspect you're still shackled
We are
in the Great White
shackled.
North.
I am. I wouldn't be able to drive to the United States even if I wanted to. The border is still closed. I don't know if that's a BDL thing or if that's just an overall policy for the country. Not that I've, although there was zero chance I'll be traveling that far anyways. But actually, I'm
Yeah.
on vacation starting end of workday today, so we're actually heading up north.
Ah,
I know it sounds silly, a Canadian is heading up north, but
up
this
north.
this is what we do. We go further north than we already are when we go on vacation. So
That's just bizarre.
it'll be interesting to see my wife try to wipe down every hard surface she walks by when we're up there for 4 days. So
Going
that'll be
north of
interesting.
Toronto in
Yeah,
August. Are you going snow skiing?
we're gonna go see Santa. That's what it is. We're gonna visit
Yeah,
Santa Claus. Yeah.
makes sense. Makes
Yep.
sense. Yeah, speaking of sanitizing every surface you come across, BDO, I I'm glad we did get together for BDO weekend when we did, based on the uptick, at least in the
Yep.
states that we have experienced since the last time we were on the air.
Do me a favor,
Um,
Scotty. Tell me not to make any more damn predictions because on the last show, I believe my exact words were things are getting really bad in the UK and I fear it's going to get really bad in the States soon. I didn't think it'd be
uh,
this bad this soon. I just thought it would get
yeah,
a little worse. It's like tripled since I made that statement. So I need to learn to shut up about this stuff.
yeah,
But
it's
hoping things get
it's
better soon too. But
I hope so. It's yeah, it's not a good time here right now. It
no.
has really spiked hard,
Yep.
hard. And that was of course right after we got back from vacation, more or less, and got back the weekend later from Durham.
Well, it's a good thing you
Um,
traveled when you did because you probably wouldn't
yeah,
want to
yeah,
travel
that's what
right
we were
about now.
saying.
Yeah.
That's what we kind of hit that sweet spot when things were more or less opened up, and snuck that in. But
Yeah.
anyway,
That's before they started putting 100,000 people in a stadium for a concert thinking nothing would happen. So, yeah, it's the COVID epidemic. Let's have Lollapalooza, everybody. Yeah, great,
our
great,
lives,
great
our
thinking,
lives.
everybody. Get Megan Thee
Well, on
Stallion
the
out here. Yeah, great. I don't know.
on the on the actual BDL front, we
Mm.
are just beyond the trade deadline, and I thought it might be a good thing if just briefly we sort of went over a few deals. Just take a look at maybe the highest value deals that we saw fly by the commissioner's desk there um, on deadline or just before deadline day here in the BDL, and fair amount of activity. And I think we have several contenders this year who know they have a shot as long as they eke into the playoffs. And some of those moves I think were certainly motivated by those feelings. And um, so, Mike, just I guess what do you see here as being the uh, top two or three or so best trades at the deadline in the BDL in terms of value for teams? Who are the winners?
Yeah, for me, there were two kind of trades that kind of stood out, and they're kind of linked together, and they both feature the Killer Car Company of Anaheim. The first one is with the Cramps, where you got Joe Adell, Manuel Clase, Kyle Schwarber, and a draft pick, and he moved off Alex Reyes, Randy Rosarena, and some prospect I never heard of. Hernandez is probably a few years away. I like the deal for the Cramps. They got a top closer. The upgrader from Schwarber going to Rosarena, I think. He has similar power and he's got good speed. So I think that's a good pickup for them. So I think they did well on that. What I found really interesting is what the Cars did with that trade. Because it almost seems like this was almost kind of a three-team trade where he kind of had these pieces set up where either he had other trades in place or he just immediately went on a trade spree because he got in Joe Adell and he immediately flipped him to the Amish for Shane McClanahan. He got Emmanuel Clase, which to me didn't make a lot of sense. If he's not going for it, why bring in a closer? He immediately traded him to the Damage, which I really like. And he got Kyle Schwarber, who's like 27 to 28 years old. Has good power. Has a good piece for him going forward. And then the Cards made another trade, which was a really interesting one with the Damage. He got Shane Bieber. I think he got him back. I think he had him originally, and a prospect, and he traded him Turner of the Dodgers, who's like 36 years old, 35, 36 years old. A guy having a really good season, but probably unlikely to have many more really good seasons. Traded him Class A that he got from the Cramps, and he traded him Zach Plezak. So for me, this just looks like a really interesting trade on both parts. It almost looks like the Damage, while not giving up on Shane Bieber, I'm not sure if he feels he's kind of the top flight ace that everyone thought he was at the beginning of the season. And it seems like Johnny's kind of betting on a return to form with him because to go from Plezak to Bieber is it's a pretty big downgrade going from Bieber to Plezak. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a very interesting trade there. Like I'm not sure what the motivation on the Damage part was. Like, is he just a really big believer in Plezak and maybe soured a little bit on Bieber? Because bringing in a guy like Turner, while a good player now, it's a definitely kind of a band-aid kind of move. So, I was intrigued by that move. And the other team that I really liked what they did this year were the Vipers. Uh, it's a thing that I cry about every season where teams that are not contending hold on to older guys and don't move them. And finally, we have a team that looked at his roster and said, you know what? I've got 3 or 4 older guys that are having kind of career seasons, and why don't I move them now since they're probably
Mm-hmm.
not going to be really valuable in the future? And I think he perfectly timed this. He traded Kyle Gibson, who's 33 years old, who's having a career year, who is never going to be this good again. Traded Robbie Grossman, a guy who's been on waivers about 19,000 times in our league, moved him, got value back. Traded Jameson Taillon, a guy I really like, a guy who's hurt 3 quarters of the time, moved him. Just really solid rebuilding moves where you're not going to win the title this year. So why are you going to hold on to an asset that is just going to depreciate in value over the next few months?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
nice to see just like a really well thought out plan for teams that are not going for it. We don't see it a lot, but these are the kind of moves that are 3 years down the road when he has a star that he got back in one of those trades, he's going to look back and say, man, did I do the right thing? So that was really
Yeah.
nice to see.
Yeah. 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 The Vipers were certainly very active. There
Mhm.
were a couple moves really that I had hoped possibly to be able to execute for the Gens with the Vipers. It just they didn't come together by the deadline. I was kind of spinning several plates trying to get something done, which
Mhm.
unfortunately did not happen for the Generals. But yeah, I agree with you on that for the Vipers.
Personally, for me, it was a quiet trade deadline as well as you. I got Scherzer a couple weeks before the deadline. I kind of sensed,
Yep.
that this was going to be kind of a weird market for starting pitching. So I thought, you know what, it probably makes sense to get to it early. It certainly wasn't the cheapest price in the world. May have overpaid a little bit, but anytime you get back a star arm, you know, sometimes you got to bite the bullet and go for it. So that's how I felt on that one.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think I agree with you too. We are seeing some teams that they know they're on the bubble. They know they still have an opportunity to claw into those wild card spots, and really we're just kind of throwing things at the wall to see what might stick. You mentioned Plesac earlier. I I think he was included in packages to at least a half a dozen teams
Mm-hmm.
at the deadline, at least according to the chatter I was hearing. Which is nothing wrong with that, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And the damage. I think you're just looking at the standings. They're in a precarious position right now, but still within striking distance. So they were trying to get something done to shore up some spots on the roster to try to make that push here over the next these last few weeks. But
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's going to be really tight between Damage, Cardinals, and maybe the Double Downs.
Yeah, yeah,
For those two
that is the one
spots.
to keep an eye on right now. It sure is. That
Yeah,
wild card race is quite quite interesting at the
yeah,
moment.
because one really good team is going to miss the playoffs, and I'm going to feel bad, but I'm really not going to feel bad at all. But one
No,
really
you're
good team,
not.
one really good team is not going to make the playoffs, and it seems a tad unfortunate. I'm just happy it's not me, so that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, and that sub story there that we are at least I'm keeping an eye on. I imagine others are tracking. Is this is we're getting dangerously close to finally seeing the Damage fall out of the playoffs in this league
For the first
after
time in how long?
if and I'll verify this fact
Has Bill
and
ever
correct
not made?
myself.
Has Bill ever not made the playoffs?
I'll correct myself on the
Yeah.
forum if this is wrong. Going from memory, I think that the Damage under the ownership of Bill. I'm trying to quickly cycle through.
I'm
Yeah,
looking
and
through it. I don't think he's ever missed.
he 13 seasons minus last year, and not counting the BDL championship tournament that qualifying for the quote unquote playoffs a
Mhm.
little bit. It's kind of hard
Different.
to
Yeah.
determine what that means in a tournament bracket like
Yep.
that. But throwing that year out, 13 seasons, 13 playoff
Yeah.
qualifications.
Jeez.
Is this the year? And that's my gosh. I don't. You
That's
know,
amazing.
that's it's more than amazing.
Yeah, it
I
really
mean,
is amazing.
it's well. Anyway, let's stick a pin in that one. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole
Hmm.
until and unless we actually have a story there to
Hmm.
talk about, which it's very possible that we will here toward the end of the season, and that's more than a headline.
Hmm.
That's a commemorative issue of, of something, you know.
That basically
So
is the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania for all you wrestling
yeah,
fans out there.
that's a great comp.
And that actually
That
makes
is.
sense because Bill is the Lord of Darkness. So it actually makes complete. This is a perfect comp.
Oh boy,
And
that's
I'm
good.
gonna get some hate mail on that one. I'm just kidding, Bill. Love you, buddy. That's good. Uh,
So yeah, yeah, yeah. Fun trade deadline, and kind of to shift gears a little bit here, um, Mike. We in really looking at teams. Speaking of the Damage and others who have perennial success, shifting to those maybe that don't so much. Um, so on today's podcast, guys, we are throwing at you an interview with Kevin of the Double Downs. He will be on the show here in just a little while, coming up after our introductory segment here. And when we first talked with Kevin about appearing on the show for the Inside Pod number 8, and got him on the schedule to be here, we started to look at possible topics for the show and content, and what would make a good few discussion points and those things as we do because we are so well thought out and planned on this show, Mike.
yep.
Um,
Professionals.
Professionals, that's right. So we thought, there are not, at least in terms of legacy owners in the league, there aren't that many left who don't have at least one championship in the league. Again,
Mhm.
among legacy owners.
Mhm.
Um, Kevin and the Double Downs, they represent one of those teams. So we thought it would be fun to take a look at this topic and just to explore it a little bit. And what we've done, we're going to call this Buffaloed in the BDL. Okay.
Terrible.
And
Terrible.
it's, uh, maybe for Bills fans, it's terrible, but
Yeah,
that's kind of the
I'm a
idea here.
Bills fan. Yeah. Hell, we could have called the Minnesota Vikings in the BDL or something. Jeez. We could go with
But
my team.
that's really what we're looking at here is, we have a handful of teams now who are or that are in the running for consideration of the Buffalo Bills of the BDL. What is
Mhm.
that team? What is that club? And I think we have a handful to choose from, and based on our historical runs and data and accomplishments, that list has narrowed down to just a few now. These are the hard luck, heartache, um, stories in the league. And just for good measure, let me point out, in this conversation, let's throw out teams in the league without titles who kind of fall under that 3-year rule. And this is a kind of fast and loose, but at least I personally kind of feel like, if you are a new owner in the league and you come in and you take over a club, and generally when you take over a club in a dynasty league, there's a reason that the former owner was either pushed out or left due to other reasons, and that club is in need of some kind of rehabilitation, right?
Hmm. Yep.
So typically you're coming in with a project, and generally speaking, I think when a new owner comes in, give that club 3 years, 3 seasons, and there really are no excuses after 3 seasons either. I think it's, on one hand, maybe that's a little generous, to give 3 full seasons to kind of rebuild something. But, we've seen this illustrated over and over in the BDL. If you know what you're doing, you can take a roster in almost any shape,
Hmm.
and turn it over into at least qualifying for the playoffs in a 3-year span. If you can't do that,
That's on you.
I'm not sure you should be in this league.
Hmm.
You know, but anyway, so there are 4 teams that fall under that umbrella. That 3-year, they're still in that 3-year zone in that bubble. Those are the Vipers, the Chicks, the Mounties, and the Lions. So we're excluding them from this discussion completely. They don't even count right now. They haven't been here long enough.
Hmm.
They're still getting their legs.
Yeah, and to be
And,
honest,
and
two of those teams in the South, and none of those teams count, honestly. So that's another matter entirely.
okay, so that leaves us with 5 BDL clubs, who are all to some degree buffaloed in the
Mm.
BDL. And I'm going to try to eyeball and go through these in alphabetical order. Let's see. So you've got the Amish Brotherhood up first, Mr. Joe. Hello, Joe. Um, Key stat here in our initial ranking: one finals appearance that happened last year, 2020.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that happened last year.
you know a little bit about that.
Yeah,
They
about
lost
that
to the
one.
Rockets. Lost to the Rockets.
Lost is one way of saying it. Sure, they lost.
um, the Double Downs, Kevin, who we'll be
Mm.
talking to here momentarily. They're also on this list. Also, one finals appearance that came in 2013 when they lost to the Crawford Cramps.
Mhm.
Let's see. We have the Elevation, our buddy Ort. Here's where it starts to get a little interesting. 2 finals appearances for the Elevation, 2015 and 2017. They lost to the Damage and then later to the Generals. Sorry, Ort. Um, the Killer Car Company, no surprise, on this list. Johnny, how you doing? Also, 2 finals appearances, 2008 and 2009, back to back. They lost to different clubs, though, back to back. Once to the Bulldogs in '08, and then to the Damage in '09. One final team. One final team. Any guesses?
I know who it is, so I'm not going to guess.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's the Woo. It's Wrigleyville. John, yeah. So no finals appearances for the Woo across their long history in the BDL. No finals appearances. Although
One great year,
um,
one really
they
great
did
year.
post the best record in the BDL in 2015. They
Mhm.
lost in the semifinals that year to the Elevation, as the Elevation were advancing to the finals that season. The Woo also have the 5th highest, so in last place in terms of this list of 5 teams, the 5th highest regular season win percentage of those 5. And that's an under 500 all time record. Around 450, well, rounding up 452. That's current as of 2020. Of course, I'm throwing out 2021. We're not even done with this season, so not
Yep.
not including any wins and losses this year yet.
Yep.
So, in
John
terms
says
of
thank
looking,
you for not including 2021. Yes.
well, in terms of looking at seeding, if we set this up as a bracket, I would say, based on what we've talked about so far, you kind of have to throw out the Woo. They just don't make the cut. The only team on that list without a single finals appearance, they did have the best record in the league one year, but I think the other accomplishments by the other clubs and the fact that the Woo have the worst cumulative win percentage across the history of the franchise, that to me, they missed the cut. They're out of the bubble. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so.
So by that logic, then this, well, let's see. Let's just go down through here. So the highest regular season win percentage among the four remaining clubs, you've got the Killer Cars at 532 all time. You've got the Amish Brotherhood in second place, again as of 20 into 2020, right at 500. They're a 500 club.
That surprises me a
Uh,
little bit that they're second. I would not have
mhm.
guessed that.
They are second, although third, the elevation, they essentially they're just below 500, but it's just, I mean, it's really close.
Mhm.
I mean, the math is really close. The elevation and the Amish are, it's not a mathematical dead heat, but it's,
Mhm.
you could say, a statistical dead heat. I mean,
Gotcha.
it's, when you look at you've got, just barely a higher win percentage for the Amish, but the elevation have more finals appearances. Um, I think it's just a coin flip there.
Mhm.
So, rounding out the four, the Double Downs with the fourth highest, at 460, round up to 466 all
Mhm.
time. Um, so, with that in mind, I would personally say you would probably see the Killer Cars number one overall. You've got the highest all time win percentage among those teams and two finals appearances. Any qualms with that, Mike?
Yeah, no qualms at all. And us being a super researched podcast, we put hours and hours of effort into this. I did about 9 seconds of research as you were babbling on there, and the cars have finished top three in the breakdown 6 different times, and they were first twice in '08 and '09.
Yeah,
And
that was their finals years. Hmm.
yeah, so and I can't imagine that any of these other clubs are anywhere near that many times of having kind of a premium team. The Cars had a championship caliber team 6 different times just based on that. So I,
Yeah,
I think
I
I think you got to go Killer Cars. Like they did have a rather long dark period. After 2012, they kind of went into the tank
they
for
were out of the
four
they were
years.
out of the playoffs for four consecutive seasons.
Yeah,
Yep.
and they weren't good for those 4 years. And then
Hmm.
they came back in 17. And they're a really good team again.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think you got to go Cars. The Double Downs and the Elevation to me are very similar clubs, even though they're not really similar. They're basically just two teams that are pretty good every year. Kevin's team's always pretty good, and Ort's team's always pretty good. So for me, those are similarly ranked teams. And I don't know what to say about Joe. You got any comments, Scotty? I don't know. Like Joe's
Uh,
Joe's really good putting together a team that gets pretty good for a while, and then he's really good at getting bored and setting that team on fire. Like I've never seen a team do this as consistently
yeah.
as Joe does. He just gets bored with success. Eight
Well, I
seconds, eight
guess,
seconds into success, which is funny. So
yeah, and that's he. I agree with you. Although I would say we have seen, what, at least a couple times now. He does have the ability. Joe does, to flip that switch
oh
and
yes,
sell.
he does
But
that
but
very
then
well.
but in all fairness, to to get back in the game
He does.
near the top, at or near the top of the league in
He
fairly short
does.
order.
He does. His issue
So
is staying there, which is interesting because you'd think a guy that's as good at doing both of those things, like a guy that's really good kind of getting a team to get better quickly, and a guy really good at kind of knocking it all down quickly. You'd think those two skill sets would be pretty useful in keeping a team competitive, but that's not something that he seems to do very often. I'm not sure what the
yeah,
motivation is there.
I and I guess the way I see these seedings, you know I think you have to have the cars at 1, and you
Yeah.
probably have to have the double downs at 4.
I don't know.
Um,
I don't know about that because you
no,
also have to take into account Kevin's always played in the best division. Like his entire time in this league, he's been in the
okay,
East, I think,
fair,
right? I'm pretty
fair.
sure if you drop him in any other division, that 466 record becomes over 500 real fast.
That's a fair point. Okay, so what? Okay, we have a consensus on the top seed.
Yeah,
Give me your 2 through 4.
that's where it gets really tight for me. I would probably go, and this is hard. I'd probably go Cars, Elevation, Double Down, Amish. But 2, 3, 4, honestly, you could throw them in a hat and pick them out in any order, and I wouldn't argue with you all that much.
Sure. Well, just for the sake of argument, and that's what we're doing here. Just kind of let's put them in that order: Killer Cars, Elevation. I'm going to jot down Double Downs, and then the Amish. So that makes our bracket seating, or excuse me, bracket pairings. Um, so round 1, let's talk about the Elevation and the Double Downs. Let's
Mm,
take these like they're matchups.
sure. From a historical perspective, you're looking at it now, right?
Correct.
Mm. Now, would it be the best players they've ever had on one super team, or are we just
Well, I
talking about
think
the average club?
no. Yeah, we're just talking about their historical place in the league, and
Mm.
like for instance, okay, so let's see, we're starting out here with Elevation and Double Down. So um, let's see. So like we've already talked about, or the Elevation 2 finals appearances, 2015, 2017. Um, this is a really interesting matchup because both of these clubs, 3 finals appearances between them. 3. 2015, 2017 for the Elevation, and 2013 for the Double Downs. However, neither club has posted the best record in the BDL ever.
No,
Ever.
and
The
probably not
Elevation
close,
got
right?
the Elevation got close in 2016. They were the second ranked team in the league.
Huh? That's surprising. I
The
forgot about
the
that.
Double Downs also got fairly close in 2013. That's the year they advanced to the finals. They were third place overall,
Hmm.
league wide. Now the Double Downs and the Elevation both have also floated in that kind of that 4 to 7
At mid tier,
range.
yes.
Yeah, for many seasons.
Yeah.
So you're talking about two, and again, the win percentage is not probably a little skewed due
Mm.
to competitive environments like you mentioned, especially on the in the case of the Double Downs. So it just comes down here to what which club do you feel has endured the most heartache,
Mm.
in is which has been more buffaloed, the Elevation or the Double
Yeah,
Downs?
see, that's a great question. See, I don't know if any of them has been buffaloed because neither of them has ever really been the best team.
Well,
But that being
someone
said,
has to move up.
Ort is always pretty good. And if you're always pretty good for this long a period of time, it's almost like the Bills in the Super Bowl. If you make that many of them, you're gonna bump into a victory sooner or later, right?
Yeah,
Apparently,
yep.
that's not the case. So I'm gonna go Ort in that one. That one's real tight.
That one's real tight, and I'm going to agree with you. And here's why. We talk a lot in this league, and specifically, I think on this show, about how of course it is important to build the strongest team possible. to plug all the holes you can every season at the deadline to be as competitive as possible. But probably the single most important factor to being successful, and I don't mean just winning championships, but just being consistently successful in the league, is engineering a team that is in the playoffs and therefore has a shot basically every year.
Mm-hmm.
Basically every year, and to me, although the Elevation have not been in the playoffs every single year, that's to me is more the feel of the culture of the Elevation, as opposed to, not that the Double Downs have not had great teams, they of course have, but I think for a longer stretch of time across the league, that has really defined the Elevation. So that's just a long-winded way of saying yes, I agree with you.
That's a good call. Good
So
call. Anytime you agree
we're
with me,
gonna
it's a smart policy, I think. Yeah. It's good thinking. Good
okay.
thinking.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna jot down the Elevation. They're gonna move on to the finals in our Buffaloed in the BDL bracket. So that leaves us with a divisional showdown. It does, with
Mm,
the Killer Cars, number 1 seeded Killer Cars versus the number 4 seeded Amish Brotherhood.
mm.
Let's talk about the heartbreak here. Um,
Yeah.
we've already discussed 2 finals appearances by the Killer Cars, 08 and 09. Um, people forget 08 and 09. Wow, I was thinking, who was in the finals with Bill in 2010?
2010. Was that his third final or his second? That was the
The
second final,
Cars,
right?
the Cars had a really, I mean, the 2010 Cars were exceptional. I'm just wondering if my notes are incorrect. They're trying to pull up the schedule really
Yeah, I know. I
quickly.
know they beat me in the semis in 10. Who did they face in the finals? Let me see. Do do do. I don't think it was Johnny, was it? Do 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 do
Let's
do do
see,
do.
Bill. Oh no, that was the year the epidemic got blanked in the finals.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes, yes, yes. How can we
10,
forget about
10,
that?
yeah,
Thanks for
10,
showing up,
10,
Brett.
0,
Yeah, thanks for showing up. Jeez.
10, 10,
That
10,
feels
0.
like me
But
last week when I played against you, Scotty.
um,
Similar, similar
we
feeling.
are off the
Off
air.
the air.
Uh, but in any case, that was a remarkable club,
It was.
and we've seen that happen before. The clubs that are that good, not advance to the finals. But
Yep.
in any case,
We've
that
been
that was
there.
a great.
We've been there before, Scotty.
We can write that book. I can write
Yes,
that book for sure.
you certainly can. I can put a
That
chapter
was a
in it.
great 3-year run for the Cars. Here's a note. Um, second most still to this day, second most playoff appearances in the history of the league. The Killer Cars.
How many does he have?
He has, if I'm not mistaken,
I
and
got
I'm
to be
going to try
closing
to
in
pull
on
that
him
up now.
now. I got to be
He
closing
has
in on
you are Yes, you are closing. Well, in fact, you and I both are.
him. Okay.
He has The Cars have 9. Again, throwing out 2020.
Hmm.
The Cars have 9 playoff appearances. Yeah, the Generals have 8. The Rockets have 7.
I only have 7?
Um,
That doesn't sound right.
that's what I'm.
Let me see about that. Because I think I've only missed the playoffs once since I started making the playoffs. I could be wrong.
Okay.
I'm going to look that up.
Okay. Well, you do that. But in any case, um, as you're fact checking me there, and
Mhm.
it's
That's what I do here. Keep you honest.
that's fine. In any case, a perennial playoff contender, although kind of a little bit skewed in recent years. We've already talked about the Cars having a 4-year off period there a few years ago, and then making the playoffs for a couple seasons, and then missing the playoffs for a couple seasons, eliminated in round 1 last year of the tournament. Um, but still, historically speaking, few teams have been as successful.
Hmm.
just in terms of consistency. Of course, no championships. So I mean, that's certainly the reason we all play, and that has to be noted here. There's we certainly can't place the Cars right now on this date in the conversation with the damage and the Rockets and the Gins and those clubs with multiple titles and such. But um, for the Amish did post the best record in the league in 2020, for what that's worth, across the tournament. Lost, like we've discussed, to the finals, and in the finals to the Rockets.
That can't be
Again,
right. It
what's
can't.
that?
He couldn't have had the best record in the tournament last year. Didn't he lose to me like 10 not, Didn't he lose to me like 10-0 in the final?
Uh,
That to me just seems mathematically impossible for him to have a better record when I got him by 10 games in one round and I made it to the finals. Therefore, I would have had to have been over 500 to get there, right? So
well,
unless he swept everybody on the way there, which would be very
unless
un-Joe like.
unless let me put unless CBS is
That's certainly possible.
choking on its own
Oh,
chicken here.
yeah, for sure it is because it's got me at 23-17, and the only way that's right is if because I think I beat you like 10-0 or 9-0-1 in the final, right? And that would mean I somehow made the final with an under 500 record, and I'm pretty good with math, and I don't see how you could win 2 rounds with an under 500 record. So I
You
think
you beat
CBS might be messing with us.
you beat Joe 8-2 in the
Oh, there
finals
we go.
last
Okay,
year.
so 8-2 would make me 15-15 for the rest of the tournament, and unless I squeaked out 3 tie-breaking victories, and I'm pretty sure that didn't happen.
Okay,
Yeah,
we,
I
we
think
can
those
we can
numbers are
fact
wrong.
check
I'm fact checking
that
everything, baby.
as
I'm fact checking
the
everything.
we should fact check your trophy while we're at it.
Hey, that's not nice. Not nice. Let me make sure it's still here. Make sure it's been stolen. Yeah, it's still here. It's still here. It's still here.
uh, but yeah. So who you got?
Okay, so cars Amish, right? Like
That's right.
so for me, this just comes down to when you say what team is kind of the Buffalo Bills of the BDL. Killer Cars over a 5 year period. Third in the breakdown, first in the breakdown, first in the breakdown, second in the breakdown, third in the breakdown. You know what that reminds me of? Buffalo Bills Super Bowl years. Best team, second best team, second best team. So it's tough to go against the Cars on this one.
Yeah, yeah.
Really tough.
I would have to agree. So the Cars will move on to the finals
Mm,
against the Elevation. What a grudge match
it
this
is.
is. I don't really know what else to say here, other than, I mean, the Cars. Actually, if you look at the standings right now, the Cars are on track for the second PCL wild card this season. Right now,
Yeah.
they're a playoff team, so they could be driving, pun intended, toward another heartbreak as we speak.
I
You
don't know if
know,
this would count as heartbreak if a 441 team loses in the playoffs. But
hey,
but to your point, hey, hell, freaking earn 1-2
hey,
titles, right? So it can
earn
happen.
somehow,
It's
somehow that did happen.
pending
Yep.
investigation still. That's still pending investigation.
That is ongoing.
Yeah.
There are white papers
Yes.
still circulating on
It's like
them
that
on
Trump
that.
tax audit. It's pending still. It's just keeps pending. Oh
Oh
boy.
gosh, yeah, but yeah, I think we've sort of, and I think you agree. We've said all that we really need to say so far. In terms of, um, you know, clubs that have experienced heartbreak
Mm,
among this group.
yeah.
When you look at the Killer Cars and the Elevation,
Mm,
Ort has certainly had some heartbreaking moments. When you lose two finals, especially that close together, when
yeah.
you have a good group of core players. That is a hard pill to swallow. But I really just have to, with the number of times that the Cars have advanced to the playoffs with the multiple finals appearances. Taking time finally to rebuild that club in 2013, take a few steps back, roar back to the playoffs in 2017, stay in the playoffs for 2018, but really just not get anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just think there's really no other choice here. I think it's the Killer Cars.
Yeah, see, on paper, I agree with you, Scotty, but I'm a jerk. And the Cars never win anything. So I'm taking the Elevation to win this title, too. Let's give Johnny some more heartbreak. I'm taking the Elevation for this
Oh
title.
no!
You win all. It's all
Oh,
yours,
that's
buddy. The
rough.
trophy's yours.
That's rough. Oh, that is through the heart. That is a wow, Johnny. I did not plan for that to happen. I am so very sorry. You're still my bro, and Mike and I will be having a talk after this show.
And a chuckle. Yes.
That's man. That's
I'm a bad person, aren't I? I'm not a nice
talk
guy.
about
Jeez.
letting someone
So much for
bleed
the
out on the
Canadian
floor
rep.
here.
So much for the nice guy Canadian rep. Throw that in the garbage. Jeez.
Well, so there you have it. There you have it. The Elevation. Apparently.
Reference. Just because we can't give Johnny a trophy, that's not going to happen.
King of the Buffalo.
There you go.
Congratulations, Ort. We hang this title on you. Johnny, go home again. But yeah, we're going to find out what one of those contestants, Kevin, has to think actually about that very topic and a litany of other topics concerning this season, his club, where things stand, his title chances for this season, and hopefully a whole lot more. We're going to throw to that interview with Kevin right now. All right, we are here with Kevin of the Double Downs. Oh my gosh, it's been a while, Kevin. What's up?
Not too much, guys. Yeah, it's been way too long since I've been on the show with you guys, but it's been a crazy last couple of years, and this year's going well though, for at least baseball wise.
Baseball wise, it was going well in general this summer, of course, until about 7 or 8 days ago when almighty Delta just decided to wreck everyone's late summer plans here.
Yeah, it's been that's made things difficult. Though I was out in Vegas last weekend, so I guess maybe it hasn't slowed me down too much yet. But
how was Vegas, Kevin?
Yeah, Vegas was awesome. I mean, it was crazy though.
It was busy, huh?
It was so busy. I don't think I was prepared for how busy it would be out there.
Yeah.
The people I was with are all vaccinated, obviously, but still, we felt like we had to wear masks at times because you had to wear masks inside. They actually changed the rules, so they would have to wear them inside. But even outside on the strip, there's just so many people there, and it's Vegas.
Yep.
So they're just like, even if it's not COVID, you're going to catch something walking around the strip in that type of crowd.
Yeah, we were there in June, and it was hopping. Man, it was really busy. So,
which is amazing since there's probably almost no tourists from outside of the country. And
right. Yeah,
that's the amazing thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, we appreciate you taking time to be here tonight, carving it out of your busy schedule, and we'll just kind of hop right into things. Really good to catch up. So again, appreciate your time. You've got the ACL's top wild card in a bear hug at the moment. The East Division leading Rockets look to be out of reach, I think. But how are you feeling about holding off the Cardinals as we enter turn 4 here of the season?
It's gonna be tough. My pitching staff has started to feel the wrath, I think, of the extra innings this year. I've got a lot of young guys who hadn't pitched a lot even before the shortened season last year. So I'm starting to. I've got a few guys that I'm worried about being shut down due to innings limits. Guys like Trevor Rogers, who have just been so good all season long. He's out with some back tightness, and with the Marlins, being out of it, I worry about him shutting it down. So that's why at the trade deadline, I tried to go out and grab a couple of stability guys and hopefully Kyle Gibson, and then add it to my offense just because I'm not as confident in the pitching staff holding up. I think I can hold off the Cardinals with only 3 more weeks to go, and I've got an easy matchup this week against the Generals, so hopefully I should finish strong there.
That is
But
an easy one. That is an easy
I mean,
one.
Be
I don't know how
careful.
easy it is. Mike made it look easy at least last week, so
Yeah,
I don't
jeez.
know.
Oh, come on. Yeah, coincidentally, we
Yeah.
are recording this interview during, of course, your matchup with the Gins, which is actually, if you haven't looked, which
Uh,
is a preview of the likely first round scenario in a few weeks. So be
no, I haven't.
careful with your
Yeah.
words. And I
No,
guess the ones with
I honestly don't feel good about my the pulling away from you this week. I think we're going to be pretty close. And then I think I actually play Mike next week, and he gave me my biggest whooping of the season early on in the season. So we've got a couple tough stretch here, and I do close it out with the damage and the Cardinals, and so I honestly don't even feel like I have a playoff spot locked up. I mean, I should be able to hold off. I should be able to hold off one of them, but
Yeah.
going head to head with with Mike, Matt, and Bill down the stretch, and anything could really happen here. I mean, my team has to hold on to.
yeah.
to
I don't know if
But Scotty,
if you have a strong yes.
would the league frown upon me just booking illegal lineups all next week? So either the Cardinals damage don't make the playoffs. Would that be frowned upon?
I think probably.
All right, just
Yeah.
wondering. Just throw that one out there.
You could probably figure out a way to still lose without having
Yeah, that's a good point.
legal lineup. You've got a lot of young
Yeah.
guys and stuff.
I am on vacation next week. It's possible I just forget to set a couple lineups. It's
Yeah,
could
there you go.
happen. Could
Yeah.
happen.
Nick, Kev, I don't know if you're keeping an eye on the score tonight. The Gins have taken a commanding 7-3 lead in
There
our
you go.
matchup, so I trust I am making you nervous right now.
Yeah, seventh. Oh wow! I looked just before we came on, and it was 5-4-1 Generals. So something must have happened in the last few minutes.
Yeah. The Gents hit one home run, and that basically turned it
Oh,
from
geez, that
five four
swung it.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
that's
a
what it
lot of
was.
really close statistics this week, so it's
Yeah.
going to come down to the wire. If we did face in the playoffs, it'd be fun, Scotty, if that's how it turns out. So.
That's the trajectory at the moment. We'll see where it ends up. But you came into the Week 18 matchup against the Gins actually on fire, really winning your last 5 contests, I think. To be fair,
Wait, so
for to be fair,
Yeah.
we
for
all did, Scotty. We all did.
four, four of those came against the South Division clubs and the Killer Cars.
Yeah. Hey,
But you,
one was against the Cardinals, so that's
Yeah.
yeah, right. That's your key win there. But you as just as you say, you did edge the Cardinals in an East Division grudge match essentially. Do you have a number one rival in the East, which is of course a really tough division top to bottom? Just a
Yeah.
matchup that just feels bigger than others, no matter when it occurs during the season.
yeah. I don't know if I call it a rival, but I don't. Honestly, that all three teams are so good. It's always a big matchup. I mean, I think Bill as sort of like the it always comes off as the villain of the league, even though I think we get along pretty well and we've actually made a lot of trades considering we're in the same division. But I do. Bill's always been this kind of standard bearer. So if I can come away with a win against Bill, I always feel really good about my team. And it's this year. It's a weird. I feel like this year it's so strange. We played, and maybe it's always this way, but I start off the season against Mike and Bill, and haven't played them again, and it's gonna be such a long time. And back when I started off, and when somehow Mike swept me 10-0, I was thinking, oh, maybe I'm gonna go for the number one pick this year, and suddenly my guys playing better, and now I'm right there in a playoff spot. So. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited to go back and play the division guys again. And I played the Cardinals a few weeks ago, but if I can do a better showing against Mike this time and pull one out against Bill, I'd feel really good heading into the playoffs.
Well, in kind of in those terms, we just blazed past the BDL trade deadline, of course, and while maybe you might not have been the most aggressive club at the deadline necessarily, you've been quite busy all year on the trade market. In fact, you didn't blink an eye at the idea of trading a top 15 prospect to the Vipers for Robbie Grossman and Kyle Gibson. Of course, you picked up Joey Gallo from the Killer Cars and multiple other assets. What, since around like the end of May, 1st of June, something like that. So clearly, I mean, I think your eyes are on the big prize this season, and looking at the landscape of the likely 2021 playoff bracket, and considering the moves that you've made this summer, just what do you think your playoff odds are?
Um, I mean, I wouldn't put them at any better than 20%, just because I think Brian and Mike, I think, are just heavy favorites going into the playoffs. Their teams are stacked. 20% honestly probably too high because with the odds that they have. I tried to make while I'm going forward, I want to make sure I make the playoffs this year. I tried to make most of my moves with an eye of also future years ahead. Guys like Gallo, he's still young. The Vipers trade was probably the one that was most out of character. I think I sold low on Blade, even though I know you said he's a top 15 prospect. A lot of guys are starting to be down on him. He's been struggling, so I wanted to still try and get some value as much as I could while he was still on those prospect lists. I've seen him to start to drop a little bit, so that was probably why I did trade Blade, even though he does have a really good backdrop to him. But most of the other trades, I tried to still stay young. I did give up some guys who I felt like I could replace. The trade for Jake McGee, where I traded with the Chicks
Yep.
and gave them up Acosta and Acuna. I mean, they're guys that are just so far away. Felt like there was other 16, 17-year-olds that you can kind of just pick up on the wire. So those moves I didn't hate making. The one that was the toughest trade was probably the one with Joe, at least during the season, where I gave up Kalenic and Luciano for Devers. Devers is a guy I've been trying to get for a long time. I just think he's a stud. He's a Red Sox. It's just a guy I've been really trying to get, and I felt like he would help me this year, and he's only 23, 24. So the in-season trades I was really keeping an eye on, trying to win this year, but also would help me in the future as well. But we'll see how that works out, because it can certainly backfire quick if a few of those prospects I traded off turn into superstars.
I was offended not to get an offer from you at the deadline for Verdugo.
Yeah, I thought I made you some offer like last minute. You said it wasn't aggressive. I didn't get as much done as I wanted to, and maybe it was just I had some roster constraints. That I was trying to figure out how to work around. But I made offers to almost everybody. I think I made an offer to Mike that included. He probably laughed off when I offered something for Trey Turner. But there was a few things I was just trying to make my roster work. And Verdugo, as I looked at our rosters, and I just couldn't come up with something. But plus, I also already had too many Red Sox players on my team. I like having them on my team, but if you have too many, if they play a down week or they have some rainouts, it can really get you in the playoffs. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't think a lot of people understand. They when they sit down to look at formulating an offer to you and taking your real world allegiances into consideration. Like, I get offers all the time that
Right.
include Cincinnati Reds players, and I let me just set the record straight right now. I don't give a flying flip about trading for a Cincinnati Red. I just, if it makes sense, fine, that's great, no problem. I'll pull the trigger, but there is no there is no preference given. The only thing on my mind is winning a BDL championship, and I am not going to roster 6 Reds.
Yeah.
Just to make myself feel more comfortable trying to do it. And I'll ship one away just as quickly. So anyone thinking of that, if it makes sense, make the offer. Don't offer me your red just because you think I'm going to buy high on your red. Okay, don't.
As you
Thank
said on
you.
the forum, Scotty, you'd be okay rostering 28 murderers as long as you got your title. So I think that
all
pretty
day,
much
every
tells you-
day, 7
yeah, I
days a
think
week.
that pretty much tells you what you're looking at. Yeah, I don't care what team they're
Yep.
on. Can they put up numbers? I don't care who they play for.
Yep. Well, Kevin, you haven't made a deep playoff run, and by deep I mean all the way to the BDL Finals since 2013, when you narrowly lost the championship to
Yeah,
Crawford. I think that was a 6-4 loss, if
sounds right.
I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
looking at that,
Can't believe
something
I
like.
can't believe it's already been 8 years, but yeah,
Well, yeah. It was a close contest, and it's been eight long seasons.
yeah,
Something,
yes.
something. I've experienced that too. After my first visit to the finals in 2007, it was 7 years until getting back there in 2014, and it was an excruciating wait. Do you appreciate that playoff run more now that it's sunk in just how difficult it is to get back to the finals?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, at that time, I mean, it had been a few. I'd been in the league for a few years, and knew it was tough to get there. I mean, there's so many good teams and so many good owners in this league, and the head to head makes it just that much more random too. So even if you have the best team, you can have a bad week. So I knew it was hard to get there, but I thought at the time that I had made moves that were going to put me in position for a few years to be really good. And I think the next year I was as a decent team, and then the next year after that I was probably rebuilding again because some things just didn't work out as I thought. So I really do appreciate it. There's been a couple teams I've had since then that I thought were going to be really good, and I think probably 2019 or maybe 2018 where uh, I thought I did have one of the better teams in the league, and I still missed the playoffs because it was going up against Matt, Bill, and Mike, and I think my record was probably the fifth or sixth best in the league. It's just so hard to even make the playoffs in this league in general, but specifically our division. That anytime, and that's why this year, before the season, I was really thinking I was still rebuilding. I traded off some good veterans, thinking I was rebuilding. And then when I got after that, a good start after the Mike matchup, I'm like, you know what, I got to go for it because you just never know. And if you sit back and wait on your prospects to develop, you'll be waiting and waiting and waiting. So.
Yeah. So, kind of along those lines, do you think your team building strategy really has changed from lessons learned following that finals loss and maybe a couple years that followed that loss, maybe in a way that even you hope will benefit your expected hopeful playoff run this season?
Yeah, I think so. I honestly I probably made some of the same mistakes that I made back then at times where you fall in love with certain prospects, and uh, I think that's what happened to me the last couple of years where you fall in love with some prospects and then they don't turn out. So you trade off some big names for them. And if they don't work out, then you're kind of just setting yourself back. I think this trade season, I've kind of gone that opposite route and saying, you know what, these guys that I really like, the Robert Hassels and even the Shane Baz, like guys like that, I determined, I'm good moving them because there's so many draft picks. You can pick up guys throughout the year that kind of fill in the depth. The top hundreds are changing over so much. So I think that was the difference this year. I tried to really trade the prospects, even if they were, highly regarded. That first run I made, I think that was the year that I really went for it, and I ended up kicking myself afterwards because I made moves. I was trading guys who were helping me currently. So I traded
Yeah.
Mookie Betts back then and some other guys that were, um, maybe it wasn't even that year. It was another year I was really going for it. I traded guys like Mookie Betts who were helping me to try and add some depth and everything. And then it set me back. So I think this year I tried to, just not deal from prospects instead of guys who were already up and contributing. So I think that's the biggest difference. And also really just trying to stay deep in the lineup and making sure that all my guys contribute because a hole in your lineup can really kill you as you go into the playoffs. So.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the East. I've had a request to ask you what it's like to play in a quote real division. So the floor is yours, Kevin.
All right. Well, I would say that it's certainly challenging and it brings out the best in you. You have every move you make, you know that if you don't do it properly, you're gonna be struggling. And I mean, I think, I mean, even like I said, it was 3 weeks ago. I've got a fairly comfortable position in the division, but knowing that I have to come down the stretch against Bill, Matt, and Mike, I mean, I could go 3-27 if I don't play the matchups right and things break wrong. So it's very fun though. I mean, honestly, like every matchup, I know that there's in my division, guys aren't going to be leaving people on the bench that they shouldn't be. Everyone's paying attention. They're all trying to. And I've been trying to get Bill to trade out for the last 3 years. I don't know how many trades I've to try and get some of his top talent. I've offered him all my young prospects, trying to just like, Bill, go away. And he's always he's thought about it multiple times, and he's like, nope, I'm still there. And he is. I mean, he's got a little bit of an uphill battle right now, but it would not shock me to see him get in the playoffs, even though he's a team that is tinkering on selling out at times. It just and honestly, I know some people have had their issues with Bill, but I think he's been great to always talk trade with, and just talk to, and Mike and Matt are the same thing. Um, you know, we sometimes have like little division chats between each other, and just thinking about where things are going throughout the league, and it's a good group of guys. We're all very competitive. I think we're good baseball minds, and but I think it's I think if I was in another division, I probably would have had another trip or two to the finals, just because the luck gets you into the playoffs in some of those years, and once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. But it's such a battle to even make the playoffs in the East right now that it's challenging.
Here are a few just quick facts about the state of the BDL in relation to the East Division. 3 of the top 4 teams in the BDL power ranking at this moment are from the East. 3 of the top 4 teams in the league-wide standings are from the East. 3 of the top 6 teams in the breakdown ranking are from the East. By the way, the same 3 East teams appear in those slots: the Rockets, DoubleDowns, and Cardinals. Damage having by their standards anyway, a little bit of a down year, but obviously the defending BDL champion Rockets call the East home. Now, I come from the old East Division pre-alignment in the BDL, which was just as exhausting, where you had to scratch and claw your way to every single win against the Bulldogs and Rockets and Epidemic, and going back even further than that, the Berserkers. There's an OG name. So, I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm fat and happy now in the South, but I get it.
Yeah.
Others in the league, who maybe haven't had to run through that gauntlet twice a year, every year, and in the postseason, probably don't get it. So you've kind of a little bit answered this question already, but just to kind of drill down a little more, paint a picture for those guys. What does that year round, even in the off season, that year round mental marathon look like, feel like, to just stay competitive in
Yeah.
the East and in the BDO?
I mean, you just always have to be active. If you sit back and don't make moves, you're falling backwards. You can't just stay there and assume, oh, the other teams around me are getting worse, or it's not like the Patriots in the AFC East back in the day, where they know the Jets, the Bills, and the Dolphins are going to suck, and they're going to walk into the playoffs and just have to get ready for the AFC Championship game. I mean, you have to battle year round, and if you make that decision to sell off, you almost have to go all in and really rebuild, because as soon as you take that step backwards, it's going to be a couple of years before you can get back up to the top, because Mike, he'll make a lot of trades, but I don't think he's ever rebuilt. Bill, same thing. And since Matt's been in the league, he's so solid and such a smart baseball guy that I don't really see him rebuilding anytime soon either. So, I mean, I've had to undergo a couple of rebuilds just because if you're not, and I'm in the mindset, I want to, if I'm not gonna go for it all, I don't want to be third in the division and out in the first round for 3 straight years.
Yep.
I don't think that does anything. I want to go for the championship. So if I don't, I mean, I honestly consider this year, coming into the deadline, I was like, you know what, if I'd been better last year, there would have been a chance I could have considered trading out, because I just don't know if the Rockets and Crawford can be beat this year, and making some of those trades is going to make it just that much harder next year. But I don't know. I like my team. I think that's part of it. I like the players on my team. I like the talent. I think they're in the right week. I can beat the Rockets and Crawford, but it's not going to be easy. So.
Yeah. Mike, why don't you take that question as well?
Yeah, for me, the East is just it's a pain in the ass, honestly, but it's it also forces you to constantly be looking at your club. Like my team, I've been hell bent on, I don't know, for the past decade or so. I refuse to let this team get old. I just will not allow it because I know that if I ever do, it's going to take me years to get back to where I was. So each and every offseason, I take my roster, I throw it into an Excel spreadsheet, I put their ages on it, and I try to get back 28 years in age on my team. So basically, I always want the average age on my roster to be 27, 28, 29. I refuse to let it get old because I know in this division, if you ever get really bad, it's going to take you years to catch up. So, to be honest, playing in a division like this is almost helpful because it forces you to have good habits in the running of your club. If I was playing in a division like, I don't know, the South, I literally could have not made a trade this year, not done an ad drop. I could have literally just set my roster all year and not had any problems winning the bloody division. But that's not useful because your team's not going to get any better that way. It's imperative in a league like ours that you are constantly tinkering and constantly trying to find ways to make your team better, and probably just as importantly, constantly trying to find new talents because a lot of the top prospects in the game are not guys that we draft. They're guys that we claim off waivers. Like I got Bo Bichette off waivers. I claimed him on opening day, and he's and in hindsight, I'd like to still have him on my team. I
Yeah.
got
Hey.
Giancarlo Stanton off waivers as a prospect. Like there's a bunch of guys that are superstars in our league that we didn't draft, that we just found them. And whenever you can find free talent like that, you need to take that opportunity. And in a division like the East, if you're not doing that, you will find yourself way behind sooner or later.
I have a great example of that on my roster right now too. Mike Whit Merrifield
Yep.
was a free agency pickup.
Yep.
I just picked it. There were a couple maybe 3 seasons ago now. Just picked him up.
Yep.
I needed a plug in that week, and now here he is. And so yep.
Yeah. And to Mike's point, I mean, I think that I know we haven't won like every championship, but I think the most years someone from our division is in
It's
the
the
finals,
final.
and I
Yep.
think that's a big part of it is that you you can't just get happy and make the playoffs in our division. You have to be a really good team, and then you're already playoff ready when you get there because if you've made the playoffs in the East, you're deep and you've got
Yeah,
high talent on there. So
for sure.
and not and
Well,
not not into rub your stat. You gave the stats of the top three teams were in the East where they stood. I mean, Bill, who sits in fourth in our league, is still better than everybody in the South. And if things broke right this
hey.
record wise, sorry, I'll clarify. Record wise, whether he actually is better or not, but his record
Yeah, he's better.
is better than everyone in the South. And if things broke in a certain way this week, he could be top of everybody in the North as well. So it's the East is this year more than I mean every year it's strong. This year it seems just like it's really gone to a different level. So
Whatever.
and honestly,
Uh,
not to keep going on, but I'm really shocked where I am in this position. I mean, before the season, I traded Mike Springer. I made
Yep.
potentially one of the worst trades I've made all year in trading or in I don't know 10+ years in trading Otani. There's a couple other veterans that I traded off for prospects and thinking that it was the Cardinals and Rockets and even damage were so good that it was going to be tough to make the playoffs. So I was getting young, but luckily some of those prospects have hit and really helped me out this year. But I'm surprised where I am right now. Now that I've gotten there and I made some other moves and solidified things, I feel pretty good about the team. But coming into the season, I clearly didn't have the expectations that I have right now. So
but before today's interview, Kevin, Mike, and I discussed an all-time list of the most hard luck, heartbroken BDL clubs, and the basis of that list was to categorically discuss several BDL veteran-led teams and determine which team is the quote unquote Buffalo Bills of the BDL, if you will, the close but no cigar club.
yeah,
Um, In fact, that's what we called it, buffaloed in the BDL. And for you, Kevin, I have both bad news and a spoiler alert. Uh, you did make the list.
All right. Figure that. Yeah.
In fact, that list was the Killer Cars, the
Mm,
Elevation, the Amish Brotherhood, the Double Downs, and the Woo.
mm,
Essentially, the legacy owners and teams in the league um,
not one at all.
who have yet to win a trophy.
Yep.
Um, so after some discussion, we actually eliminated the Double Downs pretty quickly. So you didn't even advance to the finals of that bracket, which is, I guess, not something you would want to. That was
Yeah.
between the Elevation and the Killer Cars, and that nod was given to the Elevation. So
Hmm.
although you have led kind of a buffaloed existence in the BDL from time to time,
Yeah.
you're not the king of Buffalo Kingdom here. So at least there's that.
That is
Applause.
true. Yeah.
Yay.
So I don't know which way I'd rather go because part of the reason I think cars, at least the cars specifically, and the elevation maybe, are that they've been that top team or top two teams heading in the playoffs probably on multiple occasions and didn't pull it out, which is tough. I've been there once or twice and haven't pulled it out, but the cars have had a couple down seasons now, but back when I joined the league, the cars just every year were one of the top
Yep.
two or three teams, and they couldn't get over the top. So as much as people give the Bills crap, it's still a pretty impressive record to make the Super Bowl 4 straight years. That's
Yeah, well, one of the statistics that we discussed earlier was that the Cars still boast the second most playoff appearances in the history of the league.
really wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, poor Johnny.
but yeah.
Everybody
In,
laughs whenever they say that. You ever notice that? Ah, poor Johnny. Ah.
Well, he's
We
also
take
like,
joy.
and I feel
We
like in the
take great
last few
joy
years
in his
on the
failure.
yeah, in the last few years, I feel like it's kind of gone the opposite way too, where he seems like his team should be. So he's like all
Yes.
these top prospects and
Yep.
all this like talent, and just now instead of getting to the playoffs and not getting there, he's just not quite getting to the playoffs
Yeah.
either. But I still look at his team sometimes and think, how is he not better?
I thought 2 years ago they were on the verge of greatness.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm not sure what exactly happened, but I think it was the 2019 team. They just looked like stacked, and they were going to be that way for a long time.
yeah.
And then I'm not sure if he made a bunch of moves or just a bunch of guys just got hurt. I'm not sure what happened, but that team on opening day looked amazing. And
Yeah,
I agree
got to
with
be.
you.
I think it's got to be either injuries or bad luck with prospects not panning out or something. Because unlike Joe, Johnny doesn't seem like he blows it up. He makes moves, but he doesn't seem to blow it
yeah,
up like the Amish do. But
yeah,
I don't know. I'm still shy. I always, even when I play Johnny now, I still assume he's going to beat me, and I think he did. He's probably my last loss that I've had this season. Then I think in the last I don't know 12 weeks or something. I think I only have one loss, and it came against Johnny. So
mhm,
he knows what he's doing. He just I don't
yep,
know. It's not bad. I think he's got some bad luck.
yep.
Well, just to round that into a question, Kevin, when you look at your club and you think about where you've been and where you are now, do you view the Double Downs as a hard luck club, or one that just hasn't found the right combination in the right year yet, or how do you view your place in BDL history?
Yeah, I think it's just honestly more that I haven't found the right combination. I mean, I do think that year against Crawford where I lost in the finals, I did have some bad luck. I had, I think, just based on how the schedule, and he had a bunch of pitchers that had two starts, and almost all my guys happened to pitch on like the Sunday before our matchup, so my top starters all got in one start, and I thought my team stacked up really well that year. I felt really good, and I just got inched out in that finals. Most of the other years, I just think hasn't I've been slightly off of something, or I made a one bad trade, or couldn't quite make the trade that would have put me over the top. I don't remember too many matchups where it was really just bad luck. I mean, I think being in the East is maybe bad luck,
Yeah.
but I don't feel like I haven't had players that I thought were going to be superstars that just blew out their arm and never played again or anything. I don't know. I feel like I'm right there. I like my roster most years, and it's just not quite finding that right combination to make me the top team in the league. But I
Yeah.
do think it's coming. I mean, this year, as I say, is going to be really tough because I think there are just two really really good teams. But a few tweaks in the off season, or the right breaks even in this playoffs, and I think we'll get there sooner rather than later. We're
Yeah.
not going to be a team. We're not going to be the Charles Barkley or Patrick Ewing of the BDL. We're going to get a title.
Oh, oh,
First the Bills
Ewing
comp and now
jokes.
Patrick Ewing comp. My God.
He's got the Ewing jokes.
You guys are trying to kill me. You guys are trying to kill me. Oh, jeez.
All right. Well, Kevin, as we wrap this up, of course, moment of truth here. What is your BDL championship prediction for this year? Who takes it home?
I'd love to say me. I think though I'm gonna go with Crawford, and I'm gonna feel like I had a part in that because I gave him
Otani.
Otani,
That hurts.
Tatis. If I look back, I think there's some other players that I've given him that he still has that I regret.
Yeah.
Tatis though, I don't know
I
though.
still don't mind the Tatis
Some of it
trade,
comes down if
honestly.
Tatis's injury does. If Tatis doesn't get healthy again, if he's unable to go, then I think Mike takes it. I
Yeah.
think Tatis is such a difference maker that if he isn't able to play and that shoulder continues to give him issues, I think the Rockies can pull it out. But if Tatis is healthy, Brian's team is just so deep. He's got power, speed, exciting
He's got
player.
everything.
It's just I like his team a lot.
Who did you get back in that Tatis trade, Kevin? I remember you when you were talking to him. And I remember you bounced that one off of me as well.
Yeah.
And honestly, at the time,
It,
I really liked that trade for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's although it's looking much better than as good as Tatis is looking much better than the Otani trade right now. I got back Bogarts, I got back Kalenic, who I ended up turning into Devers. I got Kyle Lewis. I got a couple other pieces. The one piece that really has burned me was Victor Robles, who
Yes.
I ended up having to almost just sell off. I mean, I got some draft picks from Joe, but having Bogarts and Kalenic, and I mean Lewis has been hurt this year. I think there was one other guy in the package. So somehow I think I gave him a first round pick in the trade, which I think I still wonder how that ended up happening. But that trade I think has helped me because Bogarts has been good, and Kalenic became even a better prospect after it all.
Yeah.
So that one, as much as I love watching Tatis and I hate not having him on my team, I don't know if that one's going to go down in history as bad as the Otani one.
I think that's a good trade, honestly, because if you got back Bogarts and another piece that you got in that trade turned into Devers, I would gladly trade Tatis right now for Bogarts and Devers. Because Devers is what, 23, 24 years old?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
People don't appreciate just how great that guy is. As a Jays fan, having to watch that guy, like, he is really friggin' good.
Yeah, he is. So is Tatis. I don't know. I think just knowing that I could have had a team. I think my team this year. Maybe I wouldn't be as good if I hadn't made some of those trades. But the Otani, honestly, the Otani one I keep coming back to.
Hurts. Yes.
And the funny thing is, at the time, I've ran that by people too, and people were like, "Oh, you got to do it." Because I got Luciano back in that trade, and I got I think that was Blade. So I think I got Blade and Luciano in that trade.
Yeah.
And I did end up using Luciano to help me get Devers as well. But I just had everything I was reading about Otani is like, oh, his arm can't hold up, and they don't know what they're going to do with them, and
nobody saw this coming, Kevin. Nobody saw this coming at
blew
all.
Up. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no one saw that coming. How the Angels didn't see that coming either. Like, that's just And I could see Brian trading him for a king's ransom in the offseason and him turning into a pumpkin next season. Like,
it's certainly possible.
I could see that happening.
Yeah, certainly on the pitching side, I don't know if he's going to hold up long term, but his bat seems to have just gone to another level this year. So but
test him for PDs. That's what I say. Test him for PDs. Let's get him. Get that boy tested.
Yeah. Mike, your Blue Jays dominated my Red Sox tonight, though. So that was.
I saw that. Yeah, the Sox have been having a rough little patch they've been on here now, haven't they?
Yeah, they didn't do anything. They didn't make major moves at the deadline, and everyone else around them did. I mean, hopefully Schwarber gets back and healthy and can help them. But Sale coming back would be huge for the Sox. Yeah. But we'll see what happens.
Were you surprised that they didn't do more at the deadline?
I mean, I don't know. I was surprised. I guess is the word. I thought they would do more. I was on the fence about what I wanted them to do because, I mean, not quite similar to my team, but I did think that I don't think they're the best team in the league. I mean, I just think the Dodgers are so good, the Astros and the White Sox, and yeah, I just think there's a lot of really good teams in the league, and the Red Sox are while they were having a good year. I still think they're a couple pieces short that they would have had to just sell the farm for to really become
Mhm.
that top team.
Yeah.
So I wasn't willing to go all in, but I would have. I just think some of the prices for these top guys that went I thought they were ended up being so low that the Red Sox should have been able to get. I mean,
Yeah.
Chris Bryant and Rizzo, that the talent that the Cubs got, they got a couple prospects back, but nothing that just blew me away that I
Yeah.
felt like the Red Sox couldn't compete with it. So
Yeah, agreed. I'm with you on that.
yeah, I mean, your Blue Jays gave up the probably the best package for
Barrios,
Berrios
yeah,
that
yeah,
would have anything. I mean, the Dodgers gave up a decent amount to get back Scherzer and
yeah,
Turner, but they also just got this. It's a crazy return. So,
yeah. They really did. They
but
really did. I'm a little
I couldn't believe
skeptical
how
on
many
that
of the mid
Jays
tier
team.
guys went back for prospects that are we wouldn't get anything for in the BDL essentially, or aren't even rostered in the BDL. I
Yeah,
mean, so I know it's different when there's salaries and everything else there, but how many guys I was looking at the prospects that got traded and like, oh wow, these guys aren't even owned anywhere, and every prospect's owned in the BDL.
yeah. That was surprising to see with a couple of those trades, certainly.
Yeah,
I
so
just want to
it'll
point
be
out
fun
that
rest of the season.
Good,
Congrats,
just want
Scotty.
to point out that Generals are still leading the double downs as we
Yeah,
speak, 6-3-1.
6-3-1. Okay,
6-3.
well,
Okay, so
since we started, then
we
we're
made it
getting closer.
round.
So.
Yeah.
Hopefully by Sunday it's even closer. So, well, Scotty, you've got your division.
Hopefully that.
And playoff spot wrapped up. You gotta give me this, and I know you want Bill out of the playoffs too. You don't want to give him that opening to make a run in the final 3 weeks.
I don't care. I'm going to run the table when I get there anyway.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. This is the problem with playing in the South. You think every win is an easy win. Like, but I'm going to beat all these guys. Look what I've done this year. Okay, I'm 200 against everybody else, but I'm demolishing this division.
Yeah, but in seriousness, it would be quite the story if the Damage do miss the playoffs. 13 straight seasons,
Yeah.
13 straight seasons in the playoffs. Just incredible.
Yeah.
Just incredible. But
I think my
yeah,
streak would become the longest streak if his gets ended, I think. Because I haven't missed the playoffs in a long time. So
probably I wouldn't be too
you
far
wouldn't be too
behind you,
far
but I
behind
don't.
me. Yeah, I don't think so. And
Let's
honestly, in the
see.
South, you're never going to miss the playoffs again. So that streak's going to go on forever.
Yeah, I am never supporting realignment. I'm also on record as that as well.
Yeah, don't blame you. Jeez.
So Scotty hasn't told anyone, but he's actually been running Brent's team for the last 5 years.
Oh gosh.
He would do a better job. He would do a better job.
Well,
even by accident.
except for Scotty wants to make sure that that Brent's nowhere near him in the standings.
Yeah.
Now the Damage are doing well this year, this week against Brent, so they're going to make a run.
Carolina's up
Scotty,
6-1.
I need to close that gap because right now Cardinals and Damage would make up some ground on me if we ended up in where we're at. So.
Pretend you're playing me last
Kevin.
week, Scotty. Scotty, just do me a favor and pretend you're playing me, okay? And just fold up just like you did. Fold up like you did against me last week.
I'm pulling the plug on this. We're done. Kevin, it was great to have you on the show.
Well, it was great to be on the show, and look forward to being on there again sometime soon. I'm glad you guys have picked up the show this year. It's been good listening. So.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll be back in touch. We'll have you on for sure before you know it.
Yeah,
and,
I'll be happy to be on when I knock Mike out in the playoffs. Let's have a regroup. So.
You know what? You might be able to co-host that week because I may not be on
here. Emergency pod. Emergency pod.
We've lost Mike. We don't know where he is.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Kevin.
Guys.
Good luck down the way.
All right, you two guys. Have a good one.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Kevin! All right, Kevin. great interview. Thanks for joining the show. That was a lot of fun. Definitely we'll have you back here pretty soon. Not too long, Mike. We're going to end up having run through the entire, I think, slate of BDL owners this year.
Mm-hmm.
We've really been on a tear. Only have a few guys left before everyone has made an appearance on the Inside Pod here in 2021. So nice little pace we're cutting. Yep, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show this week. Again, we will be back before you know it. BDO playoffs just around the corner. Can't wait to talk about some of the storylines rolling into the playoffs and really take a look at those things and hope we can avoid a repeat for the Rockets so that we don't have to hear. My gosh, I can't even begin to fathom
three times. Yeah, you're right. Hell, that'll be annoying if I win again.
I'm already having nightmares of this.
Yeah.
I will have to have a new co-host, but
I don't
in
blame
any
you.
case. Gosh. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for checking out the show again. Hey, again, you have any content suggestions, any questions for a mailbag that you want to throw at us, just hit us up. We'll work something in. If you want to be on the show, you have an idea for a segment, we'd love to hear it. We're always sort of knocking ideas around and brainstorming things to talk about on the show. So we'd love to hear from you if you have any thoughts on that as well. But we will see you guys next time. Mike, take care, buddy.
Take care. See you guys.